Hey, welcome back to another episode of Unhinged Bookish Thoughts with Liz and Carrie. Today we did a hot seat, someone that we are big fans of, and that is the wonderful Penn Cole. So we kind of sat down and talked with her, talked about the characters, the world, and her process to becoming a published author.
Okay, well, I'm Penn Cole, author of the Kindred's Curse Saga, which is a new adult fantasy romance series, starting with book one, Spark of the Everflame, that I released in June of last year. So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind year for me. I am from Dallas, Texas originally, and I have had quite a few careers before moving into being an author. I was a small business owner and also an attorney for several years before pivoting during the pandemic, as I think so many of us did, sort of reassessing what we really want to do with the rest of our lives. And I had always wanted to be an author. And when I kind of got to that reset point, I said, this is really what I want to be doing. I want to be writing. And so I sort of stopped everything in my life. And we'd also moved to France as well. So I live in Paris, France right now. And that was also a big reset. And I was privileged enough to have enough in savings that I could take a little bit of time and sort of give being an author a try, which was a lifelong dream. And so I did, and I published my first book, and I have not looked back. It has been the experience of a lifetime, and I've loved every second of it.
Amazing.
And a lot of change all at once, moving and career change, that kind of thing. I bet it was like very exciting, but I can't imagine the heart palpitations that I would be having from all those changes.
I first of all don't recommend moving halfway across the globe during a global pandemic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
my instant thought was that is a lot going on during a pandemic. Like
didn't to see any apartments, and every business was closed, right? And so getting things like our cell phones and our bank accounts were just a nightmare. And France was in full-on lockdown. Like, you had to have a little slip of paper if you left your home and they would be like, checking people on the streets for this piece of paper, and you could only go to like 4 places, you know what I mean? Like the doctor or, emergency visit, things like that. Mm-hmm. So, stocking our apartment with furniture and things was wild. But it was fun. We had an adventure, and, it was cool.
Yeah. So you said that you've wanted to be kind of an author for a really long time, big dream. Did you think the Everflame series, was that always what you knew you wanted to jump into? Was that idea always in the back of your brain? Or?
No, not at all. Not at all. So my undergrad degree is in creative writing. And so I knew very, very young that I wanted to write. And that was kind of my path all the way through school. And I've written, short stories and things. Short stories was really my go-to. This was the first full-length novel I've ever written. And so when I decided I wanted to write something full length, I said, okay, well, what do I love reading the most? And it was romantasy. I've been reading romantasy since I was a kid. Even though people think it's a new genre, it's really not. It is many decades old. And so I've been reading it for a very long time. And it was always kind of my favorite go-to. Fantasy in particular is such a male-dominated genre, or has been for so long. Women are but have forged kind of their own path in the genre, written by women, for women, telling women's stories, centering women's issues. And like, I'm very, very much a feminist. So I really loved that aspect of getting to tell a woman's story, centering women's issues, but in this cool fantasy context with dragons and magic and, all of that fun stuff. So when I decided I wanted to write a romantasy, then I started kind of thinking about, what else I wanted to tell within that genre. And the idea came to me pretty much right when I started writing the book. I just had like this flash of I guess, inspiration, and I plotted out the entire 4 books in one afternoon, essentially, because my brain was like, this is a fun idea. And then I started writing it immediately, and it all just kind of flowed out from there.
When you plotted the entire thing, so from there, when you're writing, are you more of like, do you plot? Do you kind of let the characters go? Are you kind of somewhere in the middle with them?
I'm a hardcore plotter.
I
I have every book, every chapter, every piece plotted out with every little thing that needs to happen. Now, of course, right? We plan, and then our characters have different
Yeah.
ideas. If things go sideways the second you start writing. So I give myself space for that. I don't need to stick to my outline if things veer off. But I think for me, it's really good to start with that outline, especially the later books in the series, so that I can lay the foundation for some of those things and lay little Easter eggs. I, as a reader, love it when I reread a series and I catch all those little hints and Easter eggs that I didn't understand on the first read. And so that's kind of how I try and write my books as well, so that it's really for the rereaders. You know what I mean? Hopefully on the first read, it will be fun. But my goal is that on the second read, it will be just 10 times better, because you'll see how all of those little things were kind of maneuvering from the very first page.
Yeah, I'm a big rereader, so sometimes I like to just go on the journey, see kind of things as they are. I will tell you, this was probably the first series where I was like, I think I could make theories. I was like, oh my God.
It was. She was like, I was like, what is happening? She's like, all right, listen, I know I'm not one. I have one post about that type of face. She's like, I know I'm not a theory person. Okay, listen, I don't make theories. However,
But
I have theories.
That's my goal. So mission accomplished.
I was like, wait, what? Theories? Who is she?
yeah, it was great. And the details that I was holding on to, because sometimes you can sit down, read a book, and you're like, oh my God, I loved that. Don't ask me why, because I can't remember.
It was vibes.
Let me tell you what. I could
Vibes only.
remember so much, and I felt so accomplished. I was like, I did it, you guys. I did it.
I figured it out. I was the same way though, like, because I read Spark last year, and then I reread it to like prepare to read the rest of the series, and I was like, why do I remember like literally every detail from this book? I retain a lot when I read. However, like, I didn't think I retained it that much, and so I'm sitting here like, why do I remember everything? Why? What is happening here?
So you plotted everything. You said you're a big plotter. So did you plot that we were gonna have to hate Henry? I think I might be a Henry hater. And you know what it is? You know what it is? I've like the foundation you set up, about how they were childhood friends, that kind of thing. But I don't know if it's just the romantasy reader in me. I was like, Henry, I don't know about you, Henry. I think I'm supposed to like you, but I don't.
It's the SJM first love thing, right? We're all trained. We want the dark-haired one over there. That's the one we like.
Poor my baby Henry. He just gets a raw deal. I think I might be his only fan on planet Earth. I love Henry, but I also understand why everyone hates him. So for me, writing Henry is like, he is sort of the voice of the mortals, right? And so he's the voice of this like oppressed group that has been through so much, and they've lost so much, and they have tried and tried and tried to like fix their situation, and they just keep getting beaten down over and over and over again. Right. And he's angry, and we see him over the course of the series getting angrier and angrier and turning to kind of that dark place, wanting vengeance and to take an eye for an eye, do to them what was done to him. What I did not factor in was how much being the foil against Luther would get in the way of that, and how people would just despise him regardless for standing in the way of Dio and Luther. But for me, Henry's a really special character for that reason. I think the arc that he goes on, especially how it kind of goes in burn without revealing too much about the series, I think the journey that he goes on and the ups and downs along the way, both for him alone and for him and DM, is a really poignant story. We all have friends that we grow apart from as we get older. And when we were young, we wanted the same things. We had the same goals and values. And then at some point, we shift and we become adults and we go different directions. And so I think that how the two of them move through that is a really poignant story, even though everyone is determined to hate him. I love him. I will die on this hill.
But also the way you just described that, now I'm like, God damn it. Like, I really just put my foot in my mouth. Henry's actually a good person.
You can hate him for, like, some of the things that you're just like, come on, Henry. Like, come on, Henry. Get it together. Get out of the way.
There are times where he's not likable.
This is one of my favorite on our list. What any of your let me try it because apparently I can't do words today. Is there anything in your book research on Google that the FBI would be questioning it?
I tell my husband all the time, if something happens to him, I'm bummed. I'm absolutely in trouble because my Google history is like where to stab someone to make them bleed the most or the least, or you know what I mean? Like how to treat a slash throat or something. It's just all, particularly because DM is a healer and being a healer is an important aspect of the series. I wanted it to be as realistic as it could be within a fantasy context. So I'm constantly looking up wounds and what the human body is, in response to certain injuries. My Google search history is absolutely just gruesome. Very, very gruesome. So yeah, I'm definitely on, I'm sure, a few watch lists.
They're like, what's wrong with this person?
And seriously.
I wrote that, and then I have a part where I'm like, because I do have a medical background, so I do have I do understand some things, but it's been a long time since I've been in the medical field in a certain capacity. And so there's someone I know that's a doctor, and I was like, hey, I'm going to ask you a question, and I just need you to tell me if this is correct. Are these what would happen if someone was stabbed here?
Yeah.
Is this how it would go? And I was like, the FBI is probably like, what is happening here? Why? She's not even Googling it anymore. She's just going straight to people, being like, if I stabbed you, what would happen?
Yeah.
We need to keep an eye on these people.
And also a lot
how
of
many authors,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
In because the mortals don't have access to a lot of advanced technology, and so they have to use natural remedies to heal things. So it's like, okay, what are some things that are natural poisons and naturally toxic? And that is super sketchy, right? Like, what can I pick in my local forest that will poison someone?
How can I kill someone with plants from my garden?
Exactly.
And your husband's just sitting there like, this is just book research, right, sweetie?
He's probably making a meme out of it somewhere.
So, and another funny one, when you are sitting down to write, do you have snacks? Do you have music going? What is your process of getting down into that mindset?
I definitely have my little writing cozy sort of setup. I have those star machines that sort of project stars onto the ceiling. I have one of those. I turn off all the lights because I write at night usually. Project those onto the ceiling. I have a candle here, my favorite writing candle, and it smells like a campfire kind of. And so, they're out on the road a lot during the season, or they're in, palaces with camp or fireplaces lighting everything. And so I've got kind of the smell of a fireplace. I usually put on a thunderstorm sound. So it really feels like you're kind of out on the road, sitting at a campfire, under the stars with rain in the distance. And it's the perfect little setup for me to sort of get in my world and be immersed inside of it. I love it.
I love it. It's nice. That's the perfect, even reading, just snuggle in and write or read. You're like, okay, this is good. Get a little blankie going.
Right.
And this gigantic thing full of iced coffee. Just
downing it.
All night long.
Downing it, yes.
It is so funny, though, as a reader to think about, some of your favorite authors just sitting cozy with their laptop, writing destructive scenes and just, poisoning someone, and you guys are just with your candle, and it's
more like this. Hold on. Let me get Hold on, let me. And then like grab a
And
snack, like,
they died.
okay. Wait, how did I want to kill that person?
Yeah, exactly.
And is there an easy part and a hard part of this journey, especially as an indie author? Is there anything that stands out to you in your publishing journey that has been, easier than you thought and then harder as you thought?
I don't think anything has been easier than I thought. As an indie author, I think everything is harder.
Yeah.
It will be like 10 times harder than you think it will be. So I can't think of anything that I thought would be more difficult than it ended up being. It's all been pretty intense. There's a lot of it that has been more fun than I thought it would be. Like, I really enjoy the marketing side of things and like promoting the book, and especially talking one-on-one with readers and talking to them in DMs and things like that. That for me has been so fulfilling and really rejuvenating. And I was really worried that once I put the books out, marketing them would just be like a slog and kind of, I don't know. It was for when I started with brand new accounts for I Write with a Pen Name. And so I created brand new accounts, 0 followers. I didn't tell anyone in my real life that I was writing a book. So it was truly starting at 0. And for a long time, it did feel like shouting into the void, and no one's listening, right? Like you're speaking to your 2 followers saying, please come read my book. And it does feel very discouraging, and it feels like you'll never get there. You know what I mean? You'll never sell your books. You'll never, be successful. And so I really worried that would start to just destroy my love for writing and for being an author. And it hasn't. As I've slowly grown more and more and more, and that's been the best part for me and the most fun. So that has been a pleasant surprise that I've really enjoyed that process.
That's good, because I would say that marketing is my least favorite thing.
Yeah,
I loathe it with a passion.
it's not. I'm very lucky that I enjoy it because it takes up so much time.
It's
It is so much time. So if you don't enjoy it, it can be really a lot. Yeah.
It's also like starting out, it feels very awkward because you are like shouting to the void with only a few people like listening. And it's like, here's my book. You should read it. Here's the reason why I think you'd like it.
So much confidence, and authors just don't have that. Like,
No.
we are the insecure group of people you will ever meet in your entire life. Especially, I think, women authors, right? Like, we are taught to be small and quiet and to not be confident in ourselves, to not brag about our accomplishments and our talents. And so we're fighting not just our own personal insecurities, but like societal, expectations that are put on women, in a career. And so we are forced to kind of say, I'm good at this. I did a good thing. Like, this thing I did is really good and you should try it. And that is really hard to do over and over and over and over again every day, especially when in our heads, I think 90% of the time, most of us are like, actually, this book is terrible and no one's going to like it. And I should probably unpublish it because it's garbage. But then we're saying, no, this is great. You should read it.
Yeah. I imagine, and as a reader, and we've talked to other authors, I always feel for you guys because sometimes I have like pretty low days, you know what I mean? And on your guys' low days, you still have to be like, I did this thing and it's so worth it, you know what I mean? So I can't imagine sometimes on your lower days trying to like pull yourself out of that, and because you have to almost sell yourself. That doesn't stop, you guys want to keep doing this and that kind of thing. And I think especially for indie authors, it does feel like twice as hard for you guys. It's just, as a reader, I thank you guys for keep doing it. Please don't stop. Please, I love you.
It never goes away, right? I was listening to Carissa Broadbent, who did an IG live not long ago, and she was talking about how when she wrote Serpent, she like was this close to like trashing it, unpublishing or taking it down, canceling the release. She told her friend, like, there's nothing good in this book. There's nothing redeeming about this book. It's garbage. And, fast forward a few months, it's a New York Times bestseller, it's a Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today bestseller. It is selling more copies than ACOTAR. It is, a humongous.
Mhm.
And she genuinely thought there was nothing good about the book that people would want to read. And, even with her success, those voices in your head tell you you're not good enough and nobody's going to like this. And so I think a big part of being an author generally, but especially an indie author, is just trusting that your book will find its readers.
Mhm.
And, no, everybody's not going to like any book. But if you've, really worked hard and you have put effort into the book and, done all of the things you're supposed to do, it will find its people, and the right readers will find their way to you. Really, that is a hard process to trust. Very, very
Mhm.
hard. It never goes away. It's just something we all, we have to keep with us this entire career.
Is there things that you do to like, I keep always bringing this up on the podcast, but I keep saying protect your peace. Is
Yeah.
there things that you tell yourself each day, like, just to stay away from kind of like the negative side of things? Because that happens, all the time. What do you do for yourself to kind of navigate away from that?
I have not looked at Goodreads in probably 8 months.
It's a good idea.
I don't look at reviews generally, like even on social media. If I notice it's a review, I try not to read it. I even the good reviews, right? Like even a 5-star review can have things that they didn't like about the book. And that's totally fair and that's good. I want readers to put those things in their reviews because it honestly helps me by helping readers decide whether or not they're going to like my series. Because if they're not going to like it, I don't want them to read it. And reviews can help them figure that out. So it's not that I think they're doing anything wrong or have a problem with it, but for me personally, I don't want to read that. You know what I mean? Because I will fixate on it for days and days and days. If they say 99 wonderful things and one negative thing, I'll lay in bed at night thinking about that one negative thing. So it's just my rule that I don't even read reviews. I don't look at reviews. I don't look at my ratings. I completely wall myself off from that. And it has been the best thing I could possibly have done for my mental health.
Oh my God. And then here I am being like, do I like Henry or not? I am so
No,
sorry. I'm
I
so
want
sorry.
people to no. I don't consider that a criticism of my writing, right? All of these characters are and
Yeah.
they're, what I mean. I want people to have opinions on them and to like some, that's the goal. So no,
Yeah.
not at all. Like I love when people engage critically with what they're reading and the characters. But it's more like if they say, I think somebody mentioned a word that they said, well, she uses this word a lot, and now every time I type that word, I'm like,
Have I
no.
used it a lot this time? Like, where is it?
I fixate on the little things like that, and that's just pencil me. You know what I mean? So
And you have to
it's
fight the urge to go to the search bar and type it in and be like, how many times is this in this book?
right, exactly. And also, I think it's really easy for authors to let the negative voices have disproportionate weight, right? And so, sure, you may have a lot of negative reviews that say, well, I didn't like X. But you probably have 10 times more reviews saying, I loved X, And it's really easy to listen to the people that didn't like it and think, I need to change that. I need to, do it differently. And we should be writing for the people that love our work, not the people that hate it. So for me, it's just I try and surround myself with those people and sort of the people that enjoy it so that I'm writing for them and not kind of trying to change who I am as an author to get the people that maybe I just didn't click with.
Right. And I think that's my thing as a reader. I don't actually really like using Goodreads to do, I've never done a negative review because, and I tell this to people a lot, I said, if I didn't like a book, I think it just wasn't meant for me. And that's kind of like my thoughts on it. I don't know. But I do know some people, they can go hard and it can be very scary. So to any author out there that's publishing, I think success is you just writing those words, getting those ideas out and giving it a go. Because you're putting, your whole self out there. I'm glad that you guys do it. You both are published authors, and I love you both very much. Yeah, it's not easy. I'm gonna stick to my little reading lane because you guys, I could not do what you guys do. I really, really couldn't.
If you even had a thought about it, hearing me complain, I think you're like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that. No.
Well, and I think too, especially like with you, Penn, right now in my life, it's a lot, and your books, even just this week, have given me an escape that I didn't know I needed until I started. And I could, and then to find out that, and we can talk about this, to find out that you're going to Villain and Vixens in September of 2025. Listen, I will be there. And I had just finished book 1. And if you've read book 1, you know book 1 ends it very intensely. I was screaming, I was pacing. I was sending very aggressive voice memos. And not even, I think 4 minutes later, they sent out a list in the influencer chat that showed some of the unannounced authors, and you were on there. And I just laid on my couch, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, what am I gonna do?
I'm so excited for that one. That is my hometown, and I haven't been home in years. So I'm super excited. And I think like 5% of my author friends are going to be there as well. So I think it's just going to be like a big party where it's going to be most fun. I cannot wait for it.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be such a good time. We keep talking about it. We're like, man, we're going to have so much fun. And we're like, it's like that, it's far away, like it's September of next year. We're like, we want it to be here now, but then also at the same time, like, I'm not ready for that, so we can stay away.
Yeah, no kidding. Gonna need that year and some change to get ready, but I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
So you have Spark, Glow, and Heat that are out already, but then Burn is coming out. Is it June 1st? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's coming very soon, and it's a doozy, man. It is a doozy. Finishing a series this is my debut series, so it has been a huge learning experience. I feel like I've made every possible mistake, but that's fine. We learn as we go. And it was really, wrapping up a series was very different from starting a series. I could never have predicted how different writing a final book would be. I have cried, I think, every single day of writing the book and working on the book, knowing that it's sort of coming to an end and saying goodbye to a lot of characters. But I'm really excited to get it in the hands of readers, and hopefully they feel that, the story has had the ending it deserves.
I feel like as an author, that might be the hardest thing, is giving yourself and like the characters the ending they deserve, but also like the readers kind of have an expectation, especially ones that have been following you since like the beginning. So they've been following you through this whole journey. So what is their expectation? But also like the characters. I think that's like the biggest thing with your stories, is that they're very character driven. These characters, they're intertwining with the plot, getting it moving forward and everything. So where are the characters taking the story, and where can we summarize everything to make it a good ending that's for everyone? And I think that would be a huge struggle, especially with this series.
Yeah, it was really, really important to me. When I read, one of the biggest things I look for is nuanced side characters. 'Cause obviously you need your main characters to have their arcs and their growth. But I really love when I read a series where the side characters have arcs of their own, and they have important decisions that they have to make, and their own sort of traumas they have to overcome. And they're not just like, they don't just exist to perpetuate the main character's plotline, right? They're kind of on their own journey as well. So I really tried to do that with my series, and pretty much every single named character that exists in more than one of the books has a journey and has an arc. And where I did off a little bit more than I could chew with that, because now in book 4 they all have to resolve, right? You know what I mean? Every arc has to end. But it has been really fun considering that, and giving each character their own personalized, unique, independent sort of resolution to whatever it is that they're struggling with. So hopefully, I'm sure there will be people who don't like how some of them end, because that's just how it is with books. But I feel very strongly that each character gets the ending that is right for them. And so we'll see what people think.
I'm more in the headspace of like, what do I do if this is the last conclusion? I'm like, where do I go after I read that last page? Like, am I I just spiral into that book hangover?
Am I
You know
going
what
to
I mean?
go, or am I going to go, no, I don't want it to be over yet?
You know what?
Arc, and you open page 1 and you just reread it all over again.
That's right. And then let me tell you what, you know what I'll for sure do? I have been sliding into your DMs lately, and I'm like, hey, oh my God. Book 1, I slid right in, and I am not ashamed to do that. If I love a book, you know I'm finding that author's IG, and I am gonna slide in and tell them that.
You do that all the time, and I love that about you. You just go right in the, like, I'm just gonna message this off.
And that's the thing too, is I don't need any author to answer, but I'm gonna let you know in the heat of the moment how passionate I am about these characters.
Yeah, so I love it when readers are yelling and screaming at me in DMs. Yeah. It just makes my day. So keep it coming.
Oh, good, because I all caps a lot. So
I love when people are like, "What in the hell did you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll just have to wait and see."
So my favorite. Which part? You're gonna have to be a lot more specific. Like which
part are you talking about? Like, tell me exactly where you're angry at me, and then I will tell you. I had one recently, and I laughed really hard because it came in like kind of late at night, and someone tagged me in a story that was like, I'm 50 pages from the end of In the Shadows, and if something happens to my high realm, I'm gonna be mad. And I just went, I'm gonna leave now?
Yeah, that's the best when you know they're right on the cusp of something real bad and they don't know, and you're just like, DM me again in 15 minutes. That's
chapter are you on? And I usually, someone's like, oh, I'm starting this today. I'm like, my DMs are open for you to ask and scream at me. That's fine. I'm okay. Just tell me your thoughts.
Well, and I genuinely think what I love about this too is the emotional roller coaster I went on with reading these books. Because at one second, you know, you're like pacing because the slow burn is just slow burning and it's perfect. And then you do have these other characters where you're like grappling with, oh my God, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel right now. Like, what is happening to my brain and my body? And then straight up, it was, I think, 1:15 in the morning, and I was just crying. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a scene of a loss, and I was crying. And my husband rolls over, and he's like, hey, you okay? And I was like, just don't right now, man. Like,
I think I know what you're talking about. And I sent you a snap, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I was working because I did the audiobook, and I'm just like sitting there, I was like,
genuinely, that was probably one of the most intense. And there's a lot of amazing moments, but just like seeing this main character that you love kind of break down, and then Luther holds her. I just start crying on the podcast. I just am like, I just am like that. I love it so much.
I joke with my readers that, you know, I love their tears, and I love it to put them through Brooker, but no one is more hurt by that than me. I guarantee you. Like, I sobbed hysterically, gave myself the most intense migraines writing, you know, some of these bits that are, you know, really sad in the series, because like I loved those characters so much. They're like my children, and letting them go is so hard, and seeing them hurt, you know, and seeing them go through pain is so hard. And so it's so funny because I'm sitting here writing and sobbing and just like miserable. And then I hand it to my readers and they're sobbing, and I'm like, ha ha ha.
Yes. Validating, right? Because, and I've had people say that too. They're like, this hurt. This section hurt. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you. It hurt me to write it.
Right.
Or like, why am I so scared in this scene? I'm like, good. I was terrified writing it. So enjoy. Exactly.
And I just can't get over the scene. But I think too, what I loved that you did with it too is that their last scene wasn't like, you know, rainbows and sunshine. And so to have her lose him after something like that, that's an incredibly real thing. And I was like, wow, I'm sorry, I'm just now gushing over this, but it was just super powerful to me. And that is just a part of it that wasn't even like high fantasy, like war. That was just a very real moment.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
So
For me, for making you cry.
Yeah.
That's in a series. I know a lot of authors love to kill off like people's favorite characters who it hurts so badly.
They like to kill their darlings.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying I won't do that, but for me, it's way more interesting to kill off characters that hurts the people who are left behind in the like worst possible way, or like leaves them with trauma to overcome. So like there's a death at the end of Heat that is maybe, I mean, I don't want to say anything about who it is, but their death is very sad, or at least it was to me.
I hated it.
Thinking about of how the people who survive will have to grapple with the circumstances of that death, and you know, the guilt or the shame that they will carry for it, and all of that. That's more interesting to me. Is you know, that. And the same thing with the death in Glow. Yes, it was very sad, but the last conversation they had is something that stays with her throughout the series and sort of haunts her throughout the series. It motivates a lot of the things that she does, and the guilt that she feels for it affects a lot of her choice. So that's the really interesting part to me about character deaths, is just the consequences they leave behind for the living.
Totally agree.
DM, same girl. I was tore up, DM. I was tore up. But it just felt like, weird to say that, it needed to happen, but like, you're right, it did really change her character for where it needed to go, and God bless you for that. Like, it was incredible.
I feel like sometimes like characters get killed off, or like things happen for no real like valid reason. There's nothing, it doesn't, like, the death doesn't change the individual, the effects don't happen. And so that death very much ended the storyline and like how things move forward. And so it was well timed, even though it was shattering. So it made sense, but then at the end you're like, why? Like, I had tears. I was like trying to do my job, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah, trying
like,
to do your job.
I can't wait to post my reaction.
It's
just be simple, like,
and
like that for like a solid like 10 minutes. I'm just like,
you know, I have these reading guides on my Instagram of where people pause when they're reading, if they, you know, can't read it all in one sitting. And there's a very happy chapter, very sweet romantic chapter right before that. And I really try and tell people, like, there, right?
Carrie, this is us.
Unless you're in a good place to keep going for a while.
Yes.
And people listen to me and they're like, oh, you know, I'm at work, or while it's midnight, I think I'm going to read just one more chapter. And I'm like,
no. I will be honest, I totally forgot that you posted those until, and I can't remember who it was, but they slid into my DMs and was like, yes, this. And I was like, she's like, well, are you reading via the reading guide? And I was like, no, I totally forgot. And then she sent them to me, and I was like, oh, thank you. I totally forgot, because I had stopped at the end of the chapter before, and I was like, it was a good spot to end. And we have this in our voice memos, which we care, is like, I stopped here because like it was a solid place to stop. And I think it's like chapter 29 or something like that, and then like 30 or something. And I'm like, I stopped there. And I was like, everything's okay right now. This is a good stopping point. She read on. She's like, I'm just going to go to this chapter. Then she's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop.
As a fantasy or romantasy reader generally, if you have a really happy chapter where everything's going great and things are going well, just pause there for a minute.
Pause.
I guarantee
just pause.
I really call me out, because really I should have stopped. But I was like, no, it'll be fine. I'm still not very tired. I'll just read just a tiny bit more. And then it was like 2 a.m. and I was like, hey, I finished the book. Because I couldn't not continue on. But yeah, the destruction I felt in those first 2 books, and even Heat, it was very intense. I just like couldn't put it down because of the emotional edging that was happening, because obviously for several chapters you're like, something is happening and she's not saying it yet, and I need someone to say what I think is about to happen. So bless you for the emotional edging.
If you had any doubt, Carrie and I just did a combo post. This is gonna be a while after, but recently, of tombstones, and there's one that says "Death by Edging" from the Slow Bird, and I'm like, we made that for you. That was you. Because we're reading it and we're like, God, this is never just come on. We're like, this needs to be a tombstone.
My favorite thing. I get so bored when I read a book once they're together. You know what I mean? Once they're happy and together. That's when I get bored. And so I love books where they are just it's prolonged to its absolute maximum limit of when they're like truly, truly together and happy and everything's okay. I want that to be like last page. So
I didn't realize that. I'm sitting here like, okay, is that me too? Because I'm sorry, Carrie, for book 2. I'm not going to give you any spoilers,
and now
I'm
just hearing what Penn's saying, and I'm just thinking, oh my god, what is she going to do to me and Burn? Like, and also, oh my god, it's like still a couple weeks away, so now I'm just going to be spiraling until June 1st.
We'll find other books that fill our time, and we'll keep our brains preoccupied until we can read it.
I'm just going to go back and start my reread right now to prepare.
Do the audiobook, switch formats, do something different.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and we really are excited to meet you in 2025 at Villain and Vixens.
So excited.
Very excited for release of Burn, June 1st. Please expect me to probably be sobbing in your DMs, so.
Just a video if we're going to watch.
I'll refrain from the videos, Penn. I won't make you witness that.
They'll just come to me.
I mean, like the sobbing, crying.
I'll just keep tagging you on all my stories of my reactions and stuff. So.
I live for it.
Well, we really do thank you for coming on. We've been like very excited about having you on. I've been telling everybody not in the book world that you're coming on, and they're like, okay, Carrie, and I'm like, you have no idea what this means. This is a big event for me. But we haven't wanted to share it. We wanted to keep it kind of a surprise, but no, we really are honestly super excited that you came on.
And I had posted in my stories, like, what indie authors would you want to come on our podcast? And a couple people were like, Penn Cole, and I just sent them like the side-eye emoji. And they're like, because we had already like talked about like we're setting a date, and I was like, just wait. They're like, wait, are you being serious? And I'm like, yes, just wait. I feel like, I think I even dropped it in my street team. I was like, guess who we're talking to? Because there's a lot of people who are yours too, so fun times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of Unhinged Bookish Thoughts. We had a wonderful time talking to Penn Cole. We're both so excited to see her next year in Dallas. You can check out her entire series on Kindle Unlimited. She has paperback, hardback, available online on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. So, as always, remember to read what you want and don't be a dick.